Hello friends, family, and fans, I'm Hardy, and this is Critical Threat. We are looking today at 5 amazing tips that can help new players become better role players. There's so much to D&D, and of the 3 pillars, which is combat, exploration, the last one's role-playing, which means it's actually a good idea to learn how to role-play. But how do you do that? Role-playing is a complicated thing that you have to learn on the fly. It's about improvisation, it's about the yes and, it's about so many things. It's about being involved in the game. And trust me, your DM would love it if you role play more. So, here's going to be 5 good tips to help you get started. Just get out of your shell and do it. Honestly, that's as great as it can say. I know a lot of people are introverts who play this game. Gary Gygax created the most amazing game for introverted people, and the biggest flaw to it is that you need friends. Oh, that's a dick move. But, and that's the problem, is that most people aren't extroverted. Well, okay, you have a lot of people that are extroverted. I'm extroverted, which means I'm great at role-playing. However, a lot of people aren't. So, the problem is a lot of people are shy and they're nervous about actually doing role-playing. So, that's the thing. It's like you need to just start. The same thing with anything. The moment that you step in there and you realize, hey, this isn't so bad, guess what? It's going to be great. And your D&D experience is going to skyrocket now that you're getting to jump in and play. And let's face it, a lot of people may snicker and think that it's funny that you're a little kobold and you're just going to attack things and it's going to be, yeah, look at me, I'm a little tiny dude. And they may laugh and stuff like that. But there's as long as you're having fun, that's the only thing that's involved in role-playing. Focus on details that your characters would likely do, like instead of what you would do. This can be achieved by many things. First of all, is creating a personality for them. These things can involve personality traits, such as whether or not your character's clumsy, or maybe they get shy around girls, or just anything like that. Maybe they're a germaphobe and think that everything gold's dirty, so they try not to carry it. Like things like that. Include your character having a past. This is where the backstory comes in. That can really help you flesh out. If your character was, part of in a bandit raid where his whole village died and stuff like that, he may be either scared of violence or perhaps have a vendetta against anyone who identifies even close to the idea of a bandit. Someone who mugged someone else close enough to a bandit, let's get him. It will definitely bring out a lot more of your character. And the best way of playing your character is thinking what they would do. Because with a lot of us as players, we think about, the most optimal thing. However, your character doesn't know that. Your character doesn't know who did it. Or better yet, it's like, oh man, those people aren't trustworthy because they're of this race. Wow, that sounds horribly racist. But when you're looking at tieflings, it's kind of, expected. Either way, is that you know that, but your character doesn't. So it's about your character deciding what they want to do, not so much what you want to do. Alignment. Alignment is an amazing thing to have with your character. And I know the most noob alignment, I'm going to say it right now, is chaotic neutral. Because this is the free check of, I can do crazy stuff and I expect no consequences. Don't do that. Just straight up, don't. All DMs, the moment someone's like, I'm chaotic neutral. So it's like, oh, jeez, not again. Try picking something that actually flows with your character that you've created so far. A lot of neutrals are good because it allows you to be more flexible. However, being more chaotic allows you to, play things close to the chest, maybe play it at your game, as opposed to, the enemy's game. Like, someone's all like, hey, can you do a deal for me? And you'd be like, sure, but pay me up front. They pay you up front, you got paid, why would you do the job? Or play lawful, someone who's bound by oaths or just their own conscience to make sure that they're doing the best that they can. All these type of alignments can really generate a good character with good moral base. And better yet, also make sure you're adding in flaws and fears. These are amazing things, and if you want to roleplay something that your character would be afraid of. A flaw could be something like you have to knock 3 times every time you enter a door. You don't enter a place without being invited in, you vampire. Or, it could be something like, your character has a problem with, holding weapons or something. I don't know. Some weird stuff. I mean, druids already get it where they can't wear metal armor, which is just straight weird. Because guess what? Metal is part of nature. I'm sorry to say, but it is. Where do you think we find it? In the ground. But, at the same time, your character can also have amazing flaws. And fears. Oh, are fears great. You want a fun scene? How about the fact that your character, the moment you see an undead, you drop your weapons and you GTFO. You are not going to deal with undead. And how funny would it be if you have this big, tough barbarian who's the menace of the lands, the moment a zombie comes up is like, nope, I am done. So, those are great things that can all add to building up your character, and when those are filled out, it's a whole lot easier for you to understand how your character would feel in game. Immerse yourself. Ask for details while you're actually at the table. If your DM's, talk about a scene and stuff like that, ask for things that's in there. So like, the basics. Sight, smell, touch, taste, and sound. That's the other one. You walk into here's a basic example. You walk into a tavern and you guys want to sit at a table. You guys get a drink. That's cool. That's boring though. I want a description like this. You walk into an old tavern smelling of old wood. Essentially, there's also a smoky atmosphere. The taste of it reminds you of smoked meats and jerky. As you're listening, you can hear a bunch of people murmuring in the background. Not so much cheerful, but gloomy and morose. The sight around you is dark, and at the tavern you find yourself an old orc who seems to be the tavern master, and he seems to be serving up drinks. The smell of this place smells of old stale beer and body odor. You get an uneasy feeling as you're being watched, moving through the area, armed and ready for danger. Did that not sound a lot cooler? To me, it's I'm there. Like, I'm in that tavern. I'm listening to these people. I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm smelling that, that smoke and tasting it because of the thick atmosphere. Best way of getting into role-playing is by immersing yourself. And this is where your mind can just get into the world. Ask your DM to describe things. And honestly, this is also for DMs too. Describe the environments around you. Give them detail. Allow them to live in the world. Not just be there, but be in there. Find opportunities to roleplay. People, objects, even shopping. Heck, you can get experience role-playing in almost any type of aspect. If a DM describes anything, bam, time to role-play. Oh, there's NPCs, like that tavern master I told you about, that old orc. Why not get to know him? Perhaps some shop owners, as you're walking by the market, ask to see if there's just a random shop of, clothing. Or, yarn, fruit, something. Just get to know the land. On top of that, it gives you the opportunity to learn more about the world if you're able to talk to people. Excuse me. Objects. When you find an object, play up how your character feels about it. Like, you find a bone staff, and it's really cool because it can raise the dead. Whoop-de-doo! That's not going to be interesting for anyone. You pick it up, and you pick up this fine staff, but as you look into its skull, into the dark depths of its words, I should be, you get the feeling of creepy, unnerving, while chills go down your spine. You feel like this is a staff of such dark energy, and yet being in the hands of heroes is much better a place than the hands of villains. Again, a great example of you describing how your character feels about this object. It's not always up to the DM to describe how you feel. Your character can also have their own emotions, and the best way of role-playing that is simply just by talking it out. Heck, another good example is resting. Normally in D&D, a lot of people say that they take 3 short rests and a long rest in a day. First of all, I think that's kind of crazy. You're literally just stopping for an hour, every 2 hours. That's insane. But on top of that, what's your character doing? Are they literally just sitting down and just like waiting as a loading bar goes across? This isn't Skyrim. We don't have this, waiting for time to pass. No, your characters are doing stuff. They're resting. But resting doesn't mean you're asleep. Resting means you're just on downtime. Downtime can be anything from making a fire, maybe roasting up some meat that you bought back at that marketplace that you were chatting up. You bought a pound of meat. Guess what? Perfect time to cook it. Are you a bard, or perhaps have a musical background, or just a musical instrument? Play some instrument. Come up with a bit of lyrics. Why not? That's the kind of stuff that fills in the gaps of D&D, which is the small little bits that people just kind of pass over because there's nothing really interesting about resting. Sure, but it doesn't mean it's not a great time to get to know your other characters. Heck, talk to each other in character. Find out each other's backstories, or better yet, a goal that they have. These are all great opportunities for you to find to roleplay. Work with your DM to give you opportunities to roleplay your character. Now, I know this one sounds just like the previous one, but hear me out. So, you can ask your DM to add anything they want to the game. I mean, they're the dungeon master. It's their game. So, good example. If your character is a scoundrel, ask that there be some low-level thieves around. We're not talking about a thieves guild or even a band or something like that. Just some low-level thieves that your character can interact with and just be like, hey, guess what? Where's a good place that I can, get a few drinks for free, if you know what I mean. Or if you're a soldier, ask if there's mercenaries nearby. Get information about, what's tough, what's good to kill. All that kind of fun stuff. If you're a noble, ask to see if the nobility in the town or city might want to include your character. After all, back in the day when it came to nobility, everyone was involved. So it's all like, oh, new nobles in town. Well, welcome to the council. Here, come sit in and listen. It's all wonderful opportunities that you can roleplay. But the best way of doing it is getting your DM to involve your character. All of your backgrounds and personalities can wonderfully fit together if your DM creates an environment for them. Is your character a druid? Ooh, that's a little bit hard to roleplay in a city. However, what if some forest folk come in? What if people that live on the land, decide to come into town to trade? Well, guess what? They recognize you. You're a druid. You're dressed the same. You look that way. So maybe they're going to talk to you about plants and stuff like that. It's something that your characters can interact with, that your DM can add. After all, it's their games. They can certainly add anything that they want, and if it can help your roleplay, well then ask them to work with you. Because at the end of the day, it's that's really what you want, is your DM to create a great game for you to enjoy. Now, we have a bonus tip. Learn your background. I'm not even kidding, guys. They offer a lot of roleplay potential, and it gives you tons of tools to navigate the world too. At first, I thought that backgrounds were simply just, a way of getting a few extra items. Whoop-de-doo, maybe a skill. Great. That's mechanic stuff. But then I realized that there's something even better than just that kind of stuff. Here, check this out. The background pirate. It gives you this ability called bad reputation. No matter where you go, people are afraid of you due to your reputation. When you are in a civilized settlement, you can get away with minor criminal offenses, such as refusing to pay for food at a tavern or breaking down doors at local shops, since most people will not report your activity to the authorities. You know what you can do with that? That means that if your character is an intimidating type character, if you're using that skill, no one's even going to report you, because they're too afraid of you. Outlander, Wanderer. You have an excellent memory for maps and geography. You can always recall the general layout of terrain, settlements, and other features around you. In addition, you can find food and fresh water for yourself and up to 5 people each day, provided the land offers berries, small game, water, and so forth. Well, now your character not only is, the master already at the land, but on top of that, you're also providing for your party. Remember those short rests I was talking about earlier? Guess what? You're the one who's hunting and bringing home some bacon. Literally. And so now it's your character has this amazing ability. So you're lost in the forest, and now you're able to be like, oh no, we're not lost. I know exactly where we are. That's a cool mechanic. And on top of that, unless your DM is kind of just trying to block you from your abilities, that's actually a really good one. Smuggler. Down low. You are acquainted with a network of smugglers who are willing to help you out in tight situations. While in a particular town, city, or other similarly sized community, DM's discretion, you and your company can stay for free in safe houses. Safe houses provide a poor lifestyle. While staying at the safe house, you can choose to keep your presence, and that of your companions, a secret. Remember how many times you're paying for a tavern? Well, guess what? You don't need to pay for a tavern. Sure, the place seems to be low and poor lifestyle, but that doesn't matter if you're simply just trying to get some rest and get out. Like, those are wonderful opportunities that you can add role-playing to your character, as well as using it mechanically to actually affect your game. And with this video, you guys have now learned 5 amazing tips as to how to increase your roleplay ability. And hopefully now you're going to take some of these and go out into your games and actually try to apply some of them. And remember the first one, for all you introverts, just step out there. Because you're playing a game about role-playing, you might as well just jump in. It's like the cold shower. You just jump in there even though it's cold. Anyways, that's all going to be for today's video. Make sure to check out my other video about how backgrounds are so much better than I even imagined. And until next time, guys, hopefully your role-playing goes well, and may Paylor bless your rolls. Praise the sun!